Wow, Sina.
Another day, another dollar. I'm saving just to be broke. They said college was serious, but my degree feel like a joke. 4 years or less, I'm saying I got it done. No playing, just to end up at my mom's after I told her I wasn't staying. Well, here we are. No question, I'm a star. Just got some light years to travel, but it's just so far. But I'ma make it though. Make sure you get your focus right. You coming too? It's about to be one hell of a ride. Yeah, this adults and stuff is crazy. They ain't warned us about this. I'm supposed to live my best life on an unpaid internship. I'm supposed to find my husband. Everybody running game. I guess the more things change, the more they stay the same. Went from worrying about on flow to running from Uncle Sam. Now I understand why student accounts never gave a damn. Saving accounts be slipping, trying to work out, but I'm tripping. I forgot health insurance. Oh, I'm my mom's until I'm 26, so I gotta pay these student loans. That's adulting. With the score doing the most. That's adulting. Moving out of mom's house. That's adulting. But it's all gonna work out. That's adulting. I need a legal side hustle. That's adulting. Cause these bills got me in trouble. That's adulting. Journey's course is never planned. That's adulting. Just leave it in God's hands. Cause that's adulting.
Hey friends, welcome back to another fabulous episode of the School of Life podcast. I think I'm getting used to this YouTube thing. So if you are joining me on YouTube, welcome. If you're still listening on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, that's cool too. But make sure you check out the YouTube video. Also, make sure you are sharing, liking, and subscribing. And don't forget to follow us on social media at School of Life Podcast. So, today we have a really good episode in store. Y'all know I always say I'm excited about these episodes, and it's because I really am excited. Today we are talking all things career. Now, I am doing something I don't think I've ever publicly done, and sharing more about pay transparency, how I have gotten to a six-figure career at only 28 years old, 2 snaps for the girls. Also talking about networking and really positioning yourself to win in your career. I know there's a lot of talk about entrepreneurship, you don't want to work for the man, and all of that is cool. But as for me and my house, we're going to collect this 401k until I can establish my real estate thing full time. So if that's your thing, this episode is for you. I'm diving into all things career and really changing your mindset about how you elevate in your career. But before I get to running my mouth, y'all already know the drill. Grab your note-taking tools because School of Life is now in session. Before we dive in, let's start with the start of the start. So before college, before the first big girl job, how did I even get to the place where I aspired to one day make 6 figures and really use my career to get out of essentially poverty? So most of y'all know I have very humble beginnings. I grew up in Birmingham, Alabama. I was raised by a single mom. I'm the oldest child, and so I was naturally a second mom. And education was something that she did not play about. A B was not acceptable in our home. I made all A's all the way into college. And when I made that first B in college, I wanted to tell that teacher to shove the B somewhere where the Lord would not like me to say. And he didn't. And I still got beef with him. Beef for the B. Beef for the beef. Whatever. But all that to say, education was really important in our household. And at a young age, I saw it as a tool to pretty much create a life that I did not grow up having. And in turn, that caused me to really, really, really aspire to one day make 6 figures. Now, I'm going to talk about this later. 6 figures ain't hitting how I thought they would be, but the aspiration was still there. And to now be on the other side of that dream and that goal, it feels so great. And I want to share with everyday people about how you can change your mindset to get there if that is what you aspire to do. So that's kind of some background about my mindset and why it was such a big deal for me to use my career to really change my life. Now, how it all started in terms of my career. College. Y'all may know I am a proud graduate of Delaware State University 2 times. I have a bachelor's in mass communications. And while at Del State, I was involved in everything that I could be. Like, if it was the campus activities board, the radio station on campus, try to dabble with the TV station a little bit, throwing events. Like, we were so, and I say we, me and my friends in college were so entrenched in the mass comm department. We were trying to throw our own events. Like, we were emailing celebrities. Like, we had it like that. It's crazy because one of my college friends, who's probably going to watch this episode, found an email from like 2014, 2015, where we had emailed some gospel artist, and it was like a big name. And we were like talking about an event that we wanted to invite him to. Y'all, it wasn't no event. We were going to try to plan it. I don't know with what money, but we were going to do a little something. All that to say, I was super, super involved in college. And so that started really the setup for my career now 10 years later. What people do not talk enough about is setting yourself up for success in college. It starts there. Now, if you are older, which most of my viewers are, it's not too late. And I'm going to do an episode on building success post-graduation if you didn't do like all the right things while in college. But that was my start. Again, I worked at the radio station. I volunteer as like a comm specialist for Teach for America, which y'all probably heard about. I was just in everything, and that really helped me set myself up again for success and for internships. Internships are really, really important. Again, a whole nother episode. But these are all the things I did in college, which led me to my first career job. My first career job, I made $45,000. I thought I was making big money. Now, this is back in 2017. And I thought that was big girl money. I had my own apartment. You know, I had a little hoopty that I was driving. Shout out to Nissan, my '08 Nissan. That's my girl. It got us through some tough times. But I really thought I was doing the thing. And let me take that back. I was doing the thing. Like, I got that job while still being in college. And that was a big deal for me because, again, growing up not even poor, but POE, it was important for me to prove to myself that college was not in vain. And I had a job in my field. Now, in that job, this is where it gets real. You have to make yourself an asset. I made myself an asset. And I can humbly say, looking back, that is why I've had the success that I have. I knew early on I needed to make myself an asset. I needed to gain trust from the people that I worked with, especially my boss. Shout out to Dr. Kara Walker, a Black woman doing her thing. She poured into me so much, but that is because I made myself an asset. And easily, I went from being her executive assistant to adding comm specialist to my job description. And I was only able to do that because I proved to be an asset to her and her team. One of the big takeaways at this first kind of big girl job was to be seen executing. Anytime people ask me for career advice, that is one of the most important pieces at the starting point. You need to be seen executing whatever job they've hired you to do. Showing up half, y'all know what? That's not going to cut it when you're really trying to use your career to change your life situation. Now, if you're a trust fund baby, you got it like that. You can go back home to mama when you quit a job. This is not for you, but this is for the people. You don't have that option. That wasn't an option for me. So I needed to make that job work for me. And that's exactly what I did. So being seen executing was really the turning point. Well, not really the turning point. It was the key, I guess I should say, to leveling up in that particular role. And from there, I did get a little raise. The governor gave us like $1,000, $2,000. I don't remember. But I learned that by being seen executing, I started to attract a network. I want to emphasize that when you are executing, your boss isn't the only person that's going to see you. It's going to be colleagues. It's going to be other direct reports, people who support your boss, their boss. Like, people really underestimate how much good execution in the workplace will carry them. And the sub point is that good execution allows you to attract your network because now people are like, I like what she's doing, which takes me to my next job. So worked there for a little over a year and a half. And I was like, you know what? I want something different. And this is what I like to call my game changer job. I got a job at NASA. yes, NASA, spaceships, all of that. People are always surprised. I'm like, yes, little black me, country me, NASA, you know the one, nothing else. Got a job at NASA as an executive comm strategist, aka a ghostwriter. I loved being able to say I worked at NASA. Don't get me wrong, it was amazing. Scoring that big name on my resume was again what I'm considering a game changer in my career trajectory. That job allowed me to get confident in my execution. So, whereas the first job, I was being seen executing in this game changer role, I got more confident in what my execution looked like. So, I asked to lead meetings, I asked to lead projects. And then by month 6, they were like, Jay, this is your assignment board to lead for the next 3 months, or you're on this assignment or this speech to write or this event, versus me kind of being in the background and kind of following other people's lead. And so, again, my game changer role, I got confident in being an executor, and I learned there that you have to grow your network. So remember, we attracted the network first. In this role, I grew my network, and that is where I really learned that your network should be people black, white, yellow, brown, purple, whatever. I was so used to being around mostly black people that I assumed my network should only be black people. And that is a really bad assumption. One of my favorite mentors while I worked at NASA was an older white guy. He was a senior director, mad cool. He went to bat for me, always had my back, and taught me so much about how to command respect from white men, especially. Because as you can imagine, NASA is full of old, white, grumpy engineers. And here I go leading a team at 22, 23. They're like, what is she doing? But he taught me how to be confident in how I showed up. So growing that network allowed me to expand my mind on what networking looked like. From there, I went into what I like to call my skill enhancement kind of phase of my career. During my skill enhancement phase, I made about $65,000, and you couldn't tell me nothing. I was like, oh, I made it. I bought me a new car. I was just, doing the thing, because to a single person, that is a lot of money. It's okay money now, but at that time in my life, it felt like a lot of money. I started my own business. I really learned what my undeniable skills are, and I want to hone in on that point, because a lot of people who are looking for a new career or trying to figure out how to maximize their career, they're missing the networking piece, but they're also missing what undeniable skills do you have. Like, you need people to see your work, see you executing, see you being confident in executing, and be able to pinpoint, she is a great blank. I am a great strategist, point blank, period. In any job I've ever worked at, whether it was volunteer work, church, my current job, previous jobs, no one can ever say that I wasn't a bomb strategist, whether it's comm strategy, operation strategy, business strategy. I got that in the bag. And so that is my undeniable skill. So I want to encourage you, as you're thinking about your skills, growing your network, all the things, get clear on what your undeniable skill is, because you won't be able to scale your career and move around unless you are clear on what's undeniable about you. So again, for me, it's the strategy. I can write the heck out of a strategy. What is it that you're so good at is undeniable? Along with that, in this phase of your career, you really want to lean into your network. So the more I became confident in what I could do and who I was, the more I was able to go to my network and ask, y'all hiring? Y'all looking for a strategist? Are y'all bringing on contractors for any sort of work? Like, really getting confident, because I knew whatever I did, it was going to be great. It was going to be bomb, because it's that undeniable. And because I knew that, I leaned into my network even more. And then the last phase, I'm calling it the turning point. Well, this is the second to last phase. I'm calling it the turning point. And this is when I went from 65K to 90K. At that point, you really couldn't tell me that. I was like, little Jay is so proud. I believe I was 26 or 27 at the time. I was so close to the 100. I was like, it's dang near there. I'm on, it counts. But it really was a mental turning point to me. And when I secured the 90K salary job and I secured the title of director, I'm like, okay, the hard work, the execution you were doing 5, 6 years ago, it's paying off. The network growing is paying off. The undeniable skills are paying off. What are you going to do in this phase to make sure you don't plateau and get stuck here? Some people get stuck when they reach that point because it's like, I've done all that I could do, and that is not true. When you reach that point, it is important to then grow your skills, diversify what that looks like. So a few minutes ago, I talked about comm strategy, business strategy, operation strategy. Initially, I only focused on communications because that's what my bachelor's degree is in. But once I got to that director level, I learned what it looked like to be a strategy in any sector. So whether it was business, operations, communications, project management, directing, leading a team, budgeting, I started to bring those skills into what was already undeniable about me as a strategist. And that made me more marketable as an employee. That made me more marketable as a leader, as a spokesperson for companies. Like, it just made me, on paper and in real life, that girl, because it was undeniable and it was diversified. And so it's important when you reach that turning point, whatever that turning point is for you, that you start expanding those skills so that you don't plateau. Another part of that in terms of the networking is utilizing your network to expand those skills. And so throughout the course of kind of this thread, we attracted the network, we grew the network, we leaned into the network, and now we're using that network to expand what you already know about yourself. I want to pause and say that in each phase of networking, you should be adding to the phase before it. So in my turning point phase, I wasn't just solely focused on nurturing that network because I was diversifying my skills. I was adding to the fact that I'm leaning into them, and then adding to the fact that I'm growing the network, and then adding to the fact that I've attracted the network. So you should always be attracting new people, growing the network, leaning into them, and then cashing in on that network when it's time to find a new job or a new contract opportunity or a new reference letter. And it's a continuous cycle. So at all points in your career, especially when you've reached that turning point, as I like to call it, it needs to be a continuous cycle because it's never ending. Which brings me to my transition and the cycle that piece of the cycle that I am in now. So I have my big 6-figure salary. Woot woot! Shout out to me. Secured it May 2023. And it was interesting how the job came about. So I'll pause here to tell a quick story. I was working for a company. We're going to call them Company A. And at Company A, it was a marketing company, and we had clients all around the world. I was an account director, integrated comm specialist, all the things that we just talked about. And one of our clients was Company B. Now, because I am always going to be seen executing, I am always going to attract people to my network. Like all the things that I just told you about, I'm always doing that. Company B saw me executing at such a high level. They were like, basically, can we steal you from Company A? And I was like, you're going to have to add some money. You're going to have to pay me. You're going to have to give me a sign-on bonus. I want the max annual bonus, like all of those things. And we made it happen. And I'm really glad that we made it happen because I really proved to myself, like I knew I was that girl, but it's like another level. And I say that humbly. But it's like another level of, girl, you're really doing this. You're not pretending. This is not an imposter. This is you reaping the benefits of all of this execution and network building and growing and development. And so that transition has taken the shape of my 6-figure salary. And even in that transition, it's taken the shape of a new career industry. And so I shared, I believe, last episode how I worked in marketing and comms for about 10 years, and I now work in the alternative investment space. all that I had done, the network building, the execution, the undeniable skills, they were easy to transfer to a new industry. And that's why it's so important to get clear on what you can do, because if you can do it in one industry, you can do it in another. And that's something that I've proven to myself. I was really nervous about the switch because it's basically like going from knowing everything about an industry to going to knowing nothing. And that scared me because I wasn't sure what shape that would take, but it's paid off in a big way. And I just reminded myself that I did this before in marketing, PR, and comms. I can do it again in this space. And that's the mindset you have to have. So I talked a lot. I'm going to give you some key takeaways because that was loaded. And I hope that you had your notebook out, taking those notes, because it's so important to get clear on where your career is going, if that is a goal of yours. My key takeaways: in my transitioning from one industry to the next, I learned 3 things about the career journey. 1, I've said this before, you need to know your undeniable skills. What is it that people cannot take away from you? Nobody can tell me anything about being a strategist. Not today, not tomorrow, and not twice on Sunday. It's undeniable. 2, you need to know your worth. And I'm talking about worth in terms of what you bring to a company and pay. So just like I've shared with you the amounts I've made over the years, there's still more that I'm learning about pay transparency and how much I should be making and how to negotiate every year. Every year, people know when they hire me, I'm bringing up the pay because we're going to talk about how I've added to this company and what compensation looks like. And so you have to know your worth and do that research. And then the third thing is being open to the transition. A lot of people get stuck. And I call it like the old people method, like the boomers and stuff. You think you have to be at a job for all your life. Absolutely not. The most I've been at a job is like a year and a half, because when it doesn't align with what my goals are, I have to get out of there. There are 3 C's that I live by at jobs. That's the culture, the compensation, and the core responsibilities. When one of those C's is off, I have to bounce. Now, I will say I bring it to the management team that, hey, one of my personal C's is off. How can we get back on track? If they work to get back on track, good. I have no complaints. But if they don't, after 6 months, I'm already having interviews looking for something else. And that's just a me thing. But that's because I am open to transition. And in being open, I've allowed myself to almost triple my salary in 5 or 6 years. That's almost unheard of for someone who's not even 30 yet. But it's possible. You just have to be open to what transition looks like. In conclusion, there's money to be made. I know everyone glorifies being an entrepreneur and running your own business and doing the thing. And that is great. I've done that. I think it's a great tool to build a life that you want. But there are also avenues traditionally in the career space for you to do the same thing. Why not use a 9-to-5 to get those benefits and fund the life that you are aspiring to have? At least that's what my motto and my goal is. So don't knock it until you really, really try it, because it could pay off in the long run. All right, y'all, before we get out of here, y'all know I have to give you some homework. So this week's homework is very simple. Out of my 3 takeaways, get crystal clear on whichever one applies to you. So, do you need to get more comfortable in the transition? Do you need to do more research about, your role and pay transparency and your worth? Or do you need to define your undeniable skills? Think about them and get clear on them, because once you start in one area, it easily trickles into the other and you become more confident in who you are as an employee, in a career job. All right, y'all, that wraps up another episode of the School of Life podcast. As always, I hope you learned something new or gained some sort of new insight, because that is why this podcast exists. Y'all know the drill. Keep fighting, keep pushing, keep evolving. Talk soon. Did you enjoy this episode? If so, give us a follow at School of Life Podcast on Instagram, and be sure to follow me at _Miss Jaye. That's _MISSJAYE. Did you enjoy this episode? Give us a follow on Instagram at School of Life Podcast. And don't forget to follow me, your favorite host, at underscore Miss Jaye. That's underscore MISSJAY.
Pay these student loans. That's adults with the score doing the most. That's adulting, moving out of mom's house. That's adulting, but it's all gonna work out. That's adulting. I need a legal side hustle. That's adulting, 'cause these bills got me in trouble.